Well, what do you think us as a young generation can do?
Well, one, you got to live,
Mm-hmm.
and you got to believe in yourself, and you got to, well, I can't tell you what you got to do, but what I can tell you this, that when I left Howard, I was on my way back to New Orleans, my home, and we stopped at a little. So if there's a purpose for everybody else and everything else, there's got to be, God has got to have a purpose for me. And I said, I don't know what it is, and I really don't care, but I'll just do the best I can one day at a time, and I'll go where the Spirit leads me. And that's the way I've lived my life. And it has worked out to this day, and I'm 87, be 88 in March. But I didn't plan to do anything. I didn't know today what I was going to be doing tomorrow, but something came up. Like, I didn't even want to work with Martin Luther King.
Why not?
Because you get killed. But I didn't like most of the preachers around Dr. King. I thought would be stuffy old men that I didn't feel like being bothered with. It turned out that wasn't the truth, but that's my prejudice. I ended up in an office across the hall from his when I moved to Atlanta with another job, and his secretary, by that time I was married, my wife had 3 babies, and she was in Alabama at her home. And so Dr. King's secretary said, now, you hanging out here in Atlanta with your wife over in Alabama, if you don't have something to do, you gonna get in trouble. Said, the idle mind is a devil's workshop. And she said, I said, no, I'm not looking for any trouble. She said, yeah, but trouble's gonna be looking for you. She said, well, look, would you mind helping Dr. King answer some of his mail? See, and I said, no, I'd be glad to. And I thought she'd give me a few letters to write. She gave me a box, an egg crate, stacked with letters. And so every night when I'd go back to the Y, I'd answer, 10 or 20 of his letters, however long it took. And I'd take them back to her every morning, and she'd type them up and give them to him. And he said, who's doing my mail? Who's writing these? And she told him. And he called me in and wanted to thank me and started asking me to do a few more things, and then a few more things, and then a few more things, and then I sort of became his assistant, just because there wasn't anybody else that was around that would do. That was one thing I learned. I've learned about business. If you want to get ahead in business, volunteer for the job that nobody wants to do. See, nobody wanted to answer the mail, and so I answered the mail. But that's the best way to learn what's going on in a company or in an organization.
Well, yeah, that was one of my questions. Like you said, none of this was really planned, but what advice would you give to your younger self?
I mean, I can't think of how I could improve on my life much. I had my fun. We used to sing a song, I've had my fun. If I don't get well no more. And so I've done what I had to do one day at a time, and the next day is leads me where I'm supposed to go, and I do what I've got to do the next day. And like, I didn't know you were coming here, but I'm glad you came, because this is mean, I think back of all the people that gave me a hand and helped me along the way. And I didn't even know I was being helped. One of the reasons I was able to help Martin Luther King was that people had helped me by recommending books that I read. And I read them and, you know, learned more than I would have known. And I stayed around people who were smarter than me as much as I could. But then I spent some time with some crazy people too, because, well, I enjoyed the foolishness through other people, and I didn't get caught up in myself. Like I never did drink, I never did smoke, see? And when people started smoking pot, they were smoking pot when I was in the 4th grade, see, in New Orleans. So there wasn't nothing new about that. And I don't know, I've had a wonderful life. I don't know how I could have improved on it.
Okay. Well, I think you hit on my next question, but just any advice you can give to the younger generation for people who are, you know, chasing their passions, or like you said, you didn't know what you really wanted to do. So.
Well, and it's not what you want to do. It's what is it that God wants you to do. All my plans have backfired on me, so I've saved my energy and I just concentrate on today.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of young people worried about what's next or
yeah,
the future.
And my daddy didn't want me to be a preacher.
Right.
He said he wanted me to be a dentist, and he actually got mad with me for wanting to be a preacher. And I said, I don't want to be a preacher. I just want to know something about God and about what God expects of me. And he said, all the preachers I know are either poor or crooked. And he said, I don't want you to be either.
Yeah.
And but so he wouldn't let my mother give me any money. But I got a scholarship, and I had two. By the time the year was over, I had 4 jobs, and everything seemed to be planned for me. And all I had to do was do right one day at a time, and the Lord would take care of the next day. And if I do right that next day, do the best. I didn't have to be perfect, but I just had to do the best I could.
Thank
Well,
you. Yeah,
you just got the first 20 years. So
right,
I'm 87. I got 60 more years to tell you about.
I mean, if you want to.
No, that's enough. Just trust in the Lord, treat everybody right, stay on the battlefield.